Introduction to Practicing Medicine in Business. Doctors are kind-hearted, merchants are profit-making, combining medical and business, using a teapot to benefit the world, and benefiting others and oneself. However, ideals are quite beautiful, but reality is very harsh. Bian Mu, a young traditional Chinese medicine doctor, has been wandering in the tide of the market for many years, intertwined with joy and sorrow, and has grown into a generation of famous doctors through hard work. Inadvertently, the god of wealth came to visit, and the financial aspect was completely lifted out of poverty. Chapter 1. Aphasia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cold cicadas chirp long, early winter is approaching. On Wednesday morning, at around 10 o'clock, there is a consultation room for the 3 departments of traditional Chinese medicine on the first floor of the outpatient building of the First People's Hospital of Lisher County. Traditional Chinese medicine physician Bian Mu sat alone by the window on duty. From 8 a.m. until now, not a single patient has been seen. The mobile page is full of rental information for houses in the same city, including location, orientation, price. Relatively suitable housing options are very rare, and there are no patients. Bian Mu happened to take some time to check if there are suitable houses to rent. The inside room exudes a cold and gloomy aura from inside and outside. Next to it is the water room, and to the west of the water room is the public restroom. The humidity is a bit heavy. If you work here for a long time, Bian Mu is worried that your body won't be able to handle it. Bian Mu was planning to get up and move his muscles and bones to connect his blood vessels, and his phone's sound system was activated. Vice Dean Chen Yurong sent a short message notifying Bian Mu to attend the consultation in room 202 on the second floor. The 202 consultation room, dedicated to Kuang Yiheng, the director of the University of Traditional Chinese Medicine, can be described as bustling and difficult to find. Kuang Yiheng may have encountered another difficult patient over there. Is this asking me to go and save the scene? What's the point? That patient probably still has some identity, otherwise, how could even Vice Dean Chen be alarmed? Forget it. Just pretend not to see him, make wedding clothes for others all day, and finally offend a large group of people. It's really idle. Thinking of this, pretending not to see the short message, Bian Mu continued to bury his head in searching for suitable housing information. My phone is a bit sluggish, let's endure it. After settling down with my parents, it's time to get a new phone. More than 10 minutes later, Vice Dean Chen sent another short message. The patient has a special identity and a complex condition. Director Kuang even used the EP1-13 needles, it's no use. The year-end assessment is approaching, whether to come or not, you can decide for yourself. This time, Bian Mu carefully studied every word on the phone screen and translated the information contained inside as accurately as possible. The so-called EP1-13 needles is a set of acupuncture and moxibustion techniques that Kuang Yiheng inherited from the old generation of famous Chinese medicine experts. It is said that it is a deductive branch of the ghost 13 needles. Through the meticulous research and practice of several generations of renowned traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, there have been adaptations, developments, and supplements, which have shown significant therapeutic effects in treating difficult and complex diseases. Although Kuang Yiheng usually purposely or unintentionally mystifies the set of acupuncture techniques, he is really not free from the level of acupuncture and moxibustion. Generally, he will not easily use the set of acupuncture techniques. How complicated the patient's condition is if he can't take it down for such a long time. The identity is special. A dignitary. Or a wealthy businessman. Should there be a famous star? Strange. What kind of big people will suddenly come to this remote small county? Curiosity stirred, Bian Mu was a little moved. Just as he was about to get up, Kuang Yiheng's gloomy face suddenly appeared before his eyes, and Bian Mu changed her mind. Since I joined the company, Kuang Yiheng has been highly praised in front of me, and those small actions behind my back have not stopped for a day. Why did I help him out? He naturally wouldn't do things like falling into a well and falling into a stone. However, whoever is in charge of the patient is responsible for it. Hanging the clothes, let him know that knowing the depth of traditional Chinese medicine may not necessarily be a bad thing for him. Huang Yiheng is a smart person, and in the future, he may be able to restrain himself to some extent. Anyway, that special patient won't be in danger for the time being. Otherwise, Vice Dean Chen would have rushed downstairs long ago. It's okay, wait and see. Bian Mu thought to herself. As for Chen Yurong, it's okay. Having a professional background, Zheng Daguang was admitted to the county hospital with excellent grades. He did not rely on favors or gifts and remained upright. Since his medical career, Bian Mu has not learned to judge anyone's appearance, and Chen Yurong is no exception. Young people, no matter what kind of people they meet, Bian Mu is always unwilling to bow his head. This is why Bian Mu followed his mother. My mother is right. People live in the world, and the rich and the poor can't be ruled by the good and the bad, so they can't lose their spirit. Losing sharpness may not have a significant impact on Western medicine practitioners, but for traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, it can be a fatal psychological injury. Perhaps in this lifetime, Bian Mu will not have the opportunity to touch the crown of Chinese medicine's unparalleled knowledge. This is something that Bian Mu absolutely cannot accept. Bian Mu is an ambitious person. The rented house may not last for many years. Considering the physical and mental health of my parents, Bian Mu must take it seriously. At this moment, there are still no patients coming in for consultation. Quietly, Bian Mu sits on a chair and continues to search for suitable housing options. Bang! 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 Someone knocked on the door outside the consultation room a few times. Bian Mu was pondering the matter of renting a house, but he had never heard of it. With a few squeaks, the door of the consultation room was gently pushed open from outside, and the head nurse, Sister Kai, rushed in outside the door. Hi. Vice Dean Chen has been looking for you for a long time. Hurry up and take a look at Director Kwang. A big shot has arrived. They have been consulting for a long time, but it hasn't been effective. County Mayor Du is angry beside them. Slowly looking up at Nurse Kai, Bian Mu was not in a hurry at all. Oh. County Magistrate Du is already alarmed. What's going on specifically? Bian Mu asked calmly. The leaders circled around there, and I didn't dare to get too close. I'm not sure about the specific situation, so hurry up and take a look. Don't procrastinate. To put it bluntly, Sister Kai was doing it for Bian Muheo. What specific situation is that you don't even know? Go up and find excitement. No. Bian Mu replied firmly with a determined expression. Seeing Bian Mu's disdainful expression, Nurse Director Kai couldn't help but sneer a few times. The year-end evaluation is about to begin, including performance, year-end evaluation, department self-evaluation. You don't have a clear idea of how many points to give yourself. I'm warning you. This year, we will strictly implement the last place elimination system. With your attitude, I'll see which leader will speak for you. That's really it. Upon hearing these words, Bian Mu couldn't help but curl her lips and remain silent. In the field of traditional Chinese medicine, except for a few items such as business assessment and attendance assessment, Bian Mu has consistently ranked last in various assessment scores. Seeing Bian Mu feeling a bit submissive, there was a moment of silence. After all, Sister Kai still felt a bit soft-hearted. That man looks very impressive. I heard that Secretary Wang has been calling to express his concern. It seems like he was in a car accident on the way and suddenly lost his speech. However, I glanced at him and he seemed to have a decent mental state. How about you go up and deal with it? If you get sick soon, Vice Dean Chen can always say a few words for you during the year-end assessment at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Your old house will be demolished soon. Xiaoye will have to go to college in the second half of next year, and she will have to spend a lot of money both inside and outside. If you lose your job again, will you still let your parents live? Really? Speaking of which, even if Bianmu has a personality, it's not easy to joke around and say tough things. Okay. I can't go yet. I see you're in a hurry. With an apologetic smile, Bianmu turned off her phone screen and quickly walked out towards the staircase. Nurse Head Kai closed the door of the consultation room behind her and looked at Bianmu's back with a resentful expression. She shook her head in disappointment and quickly walked away, busy with urgent matters at hand. There are only a few people who retire normally every year, and every day there are people who want to come in. The proportion of entry and exit is seriously imbalanced, and the last place elimination system is imperative. Dean Ma has no choice but to create a list in his mind. Unfortunately, Bianmu is on that list. President Ma had long heard of Bianmu's level, thinking that the handsome doctor in front of him would have to resign in another month or two. President Ma nodded apologetically at Bianmu, citing that the excessive gathering of medical staff would affect the oxygen supply. President Ma instructed County Mayor Du and others to leave the consultation room and rest in his office. Kwang Yiheng loved Face so much that he left on the pretext. There were only a few people left in the consultation room, including Bianmu, Chen Yurong, a young lady with an assistant-like appearance, and the head nurse of the traditional Chinese medicine department. Vice Dean Chen Yurong secretly glared at Bianmu with anger, gesturing for him to quickly go over and show the big shot whether urgent action could be taken. The corner of his mouth curled twice, and Bianmu didn't ask anything. He stepped forward and sat opposite the big shot to give him a pulse. The pulse was like a painting, and after more than 10 minutes, Bianmu felt at ease. Chapter 2. Saving the scene like fighting a fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The patient in front of me is in his early 40s, with a sword-like eyebrow, vivid eyes, a straight nose like a mountain, a slightly thin face, a pointed jaw, and an outstanding appearance. His temperament does indeed look different from ordinary people. Check the tongue coating, hair roots, and ear area. Bianmu has a rough assessment of the condition of the so-called big shot in front of him. If it weren't for his special identity, what kind of difficult and complicated illness would this be? Kwang Yiheng may have been panicked and lost his mind due to fear, misjudgment and mistreatment. This will spread and not damage his reputation, he. Thinking of this, Bianmu nodded lightly at the special patient in front of him, stood up and walked towards the young lady who looked like an assistant. Is it convenient for you? Could you take a step to speak? Bianmu politely said to the young lady. The young lady has agile eyes, and at first glance she is the kind of smart and intelligent workplace elite. She politely smiled and walked sideways to the nearest corner to the door to stop. If you have anything to ask, please go ahead. The patient is speechless, and in some cases, I have to seek your advice. I heard that the direct cause of the sudden illness was a car accident. In a minor accident, the vehicle was only partially scratched. Fortunately, the driver's driving skills were high enough, and the vehicle we were riding on suddenly turned 180 degrees or more over a short distance. Mr. Luo was a bit scared because of this, and later. The young lady spoke eloquently and logically, and in just 3 words, she explained the key points of the accident scene clearly. Oh. So that means there was no serious collision at the accident scene. Bianmu chased after him. Yes. The vehicle involved in the accident instinctively chose to avoid danger in an emergency and overturned a piece of isolation belt. The injury was quite serious. To be honest, the scene at that time was quite frightening, and it was quite lucky. The occupants of the vehicle involved in the accident should not have been in life-threatening condition. Well. By the way, has Mr. Luo been under significant mental pressure recently? And the duration is quite long. This should be. How long has it been? How can I make a judgment about this? In terms of intuitive judgment, it should have been over a year. How much do you know about Mr. Luo's diet, sleep, and other aspects in the past year? I'm just an assistant, how could I possibly have any understanding of these situations? However, I usually feel that it's rare for Mr. Luo to eat anything, and when he goes to a banquet, he often leaves after only a few bites. The assistant explained his observations as accurately as possible. What about beverages? For example, the daily intake of beverages such as coffee, cola, tea. Bien Mu continued to ask. Mr. Luo never drinks coffee, he's allergic. He also drinks very little tea and hardly drinks carbonated drinks like cola. Let's put it this way, Mr. Luo's intake of beverages is much lower than that of ordinary people. Sometimes, he doesn't drip water all day. Understood. Do patients have any special dietary habits? I haven't heard of it. Why don't I call and ask Mrs. Mai? Okay. I'll wait for you. After speaking, Bien Mu retreated to the side and didn't forget to smile at Vice Dean Chen Yurong, indicating that she was still confident. Seeing Bien Mu's confident appearance, Chen Yurong finally breathed a sigh of relief, and her mood suddenly relaxed a lot. Luo Jiaming, the current chairman of Yukikang Pharmaceutical Group, curiously glanced at Bien Mu and felt that the handsome and sunny young doctor in front of him was somewhat unusual. Hopefully, this kid is not making things seem mysterious. After a while, the female assistant hung up the phone and walked over to Bien Mu, whispering a few words. Bien Mu nodded lightly and didn't ask any more questions. Subsequently, Bien Mu walked up to Chen Yurong and whispered a few words of advice. Chen Yurong nodded slightly and immediately called the head nurse of the traditional Chinese medicine department outside to arrange relevant arrangements. Bien Mu approached Luo Jiaming again and explained with a smile, your hearing should not have been greatly affected. Aphasia is just a symptom. Your trouble lies elsewhere. Later, I will give you a few injections, which will last about 20 minutes. After that, you will have to sit in the bathroom and wait for a while. The diarrhea may be more severe than you imagine, and there may even be a brief fainting phenomenon. You don't need to panic at that time. This is a normal treatment response, but after the condition improves slightly, you must stay at home and rest for a period of time. Otherwise, the treatment effect will be greatly reduced. Luo Jiaming listened with a vague understanding, and in this situation, he had no other choice. Staring intently at Bien Mu's eyes for a moment, Luo Jiaming chose to trust the young doctor in front of him and nodded lightly. Luo Jiaming expressed his willingness to cooperate with the treatment. Bien Mu gestured to a female nurse waiting next to him to ask Luo Jiaming to get up, walk to the disposal bed, and lie down. Then, another female nurse went outside to fetch a thin blanket and covered Luo Jiaming with it. Then he opened Luo Jiaming's upper body clothes, exposed his abdomen, took sterilized ordinary acupuncture and moxibustion needles, selected points, sterilized them, and stabbed 2 needles on the Tianshu point, while bathing. The depth of acupuncture and moxibustion needles was just right, which could not be seen by laymen. This is the wisdom of Bien Mu. Cover the blanket casually and sit next to it, waiting quietly. At this moment, there were only 2 female nurses and a female assistant left in the consultation room. No one spoke, and the room was so quiet that even a needle could be heard. Zhaoshuyuan.com. After more than 10 minutes, someone knocked on the door outside. The slightly taller female nurse quickly walked to the door and opened the door slightly, asking a few questions softly with her face facing outside. Dr. Bien. Mr. Luo and his company have brought in 2 men, should they come in? I asked them to come, please let them in. Bien Mu responded casually. 2 middle-aged men nodded outside the door, and the female nurse politely greeted the 2 men to enter the room and take their seats. Everyone remained silent and continued to wait. Seeing that it was almost time, Bien Mu got up and walked to the bedside to dispose of the bed. She started to inject and disinfect the blanket, and casually covered it for Luo Jiaming. Please lie on your side for a while, I need another injection, Bien Mu said. Luo Jiaming cooperated very well and lay still without moving. Disinfect and remove the acupoint, then inject a needle into Luo Jiaming's Yamen acupoint with Bien Mu. Bien Mu sat next to her and waited for a quarter of an hour, then got up to get injections and disinfect. Turning around, Bien Muchong said to the two men, "Could you please help Mr. Luo to the bathroom of the dean's office and wait? No matter what special situation happens later, please don't panic, just follow the nurse's instructions." The two men nodded lightly, and one of the tall men responded softly, "We will follow the doctor's advice, but don't go far. In case something unexpected happens, you have to take full responsibility. Don't worry, I will bear all the consequences. Take your time on the way later, don't worry." With these words, Bien Mu commanded everyone to take Luo Jiaming to the dean's office. Bien Mu leisurely and slowly returned to the 3 departments of traditional Chinese medicine to continue waiting for treatment. Chapter 3. Urgent Moments. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lisha County is a legitimate second-class comprehensive hospital, and the professional quality of medical staff is naturally not a problem. Bien Mu has already informed Vice Dean Chen Yurong of the relevant medical advice, and he will no longer interfere with subsequent treatment. According to the established rules in the hospital, Mr. Luo is still a patient of Director Kwang Yiheng. Bien Mu's actions are nothing more than participating in a consultation. Kwang Yiheng loves face, and Bien Mu has to give him that face. I stayed until it was almost time to finish work, but I still didn't see a patient in the consultation room. I tidied up and took a bath, ready to leave work. At this moment, Chief Nurse Sister Kai appeared at the entrance of the consultation room. Gently knocking on the door twice, Nurse Kai smiled and said, "You're still amazing. Mr. Luo has already spoken up, you really dare to give an injection." I heard them say that Mr. Luo was in shock at the time, and County Magistrate Du and the hospital leaders were all scared. If Vice Dean Chen has enough determination, that's a very confident command. What's wrong? After the incident, brush off your clothes and hide your achievements and reputation. Continue to play the role of a hero behind the scenes. With a faint smile, Bien Mu responded casually, "I can't say I can't go. You keep pushing me, but now the trouble is over, and you're pushing me again. I'm in a difficult situation. Stop it. I don't believe you're just so calm in your heart. Are they all colleagues? What else can we do? Die before Director Kwang, Mr. Luo. Climb up the pole, is that interesting?" "That's right. By the way, how did the house look when I introduced it to you last time?" Nurse Kai casually asked. "My mom thinks it's expensive, we didn't get it through. The monthly rent of 800 is still too expensive." "What kind of location is that?" "Auntie, really? What's the solution?" "My younger sister will take the college entrance examination next year. With her grades, she can smoothly become a top-tier student, which is considered good. The miscellaneous expenses plus one cannot exceed 20,000 to 30,000 yuan per year. You know about my family's situation, what else can my mother do if she doesn't work hard to save money?" "That's true. What small prescription are you still prescribing? You can't earn money and have offended a lot of colleagues. I really don't know what you're trying. Physicians are kind-hearted. Even though they can solve problems for just over 10 yuan, they insist on prescribing large and multiple prescriptions without conscience, as well as Western medicine that has almost no effect. Is it appropriate? In the quiet of the night, dare you face your ancestors? Facing heaven and earth, are you calm? Got it. I'm getting excited again. I won't argue with you anymore. I have something else to do on my end. Let me know when the house is rented, so I won't have to worry about it for you." "That's for sure. It's bothering you." Bien Mu politely escorted Nurse Kai out of the room, and after a brief tidying up, she finished work and went home. The Bien family is located in an old residential area on the western outskirts of the county town without a property management company. 6 or 7 slab buildings have been built in a crisscrossing manner in the community, with the highest one being only 6 floors, all of which have a brick and concrete structure. The oldest building is almost 40 years old. Each building has several large, demolition, characters painted on its exterior walls. The notice for the renovation of the old city has been delivered for a year and a half, and in a while, this place will be razed to the ground. The Bien family is located in the easternmost unit of Building 5, the top floor, and is a public rental property. Bien Mu's father does not have the qualification to apply for compensation, so he cannot move back. There is no other way, and the whole family can only inquire about suitable rental housing and move in first. The parking shed had already been demolished to the point where there were no tiles left. Bien Mu had to carry his bicycle all the way to the top floor and park it casually in the hallway. On the first floor, there are 3 households. Mr. Zhang and his family have already found a place to live, and the house has been empty. Aunt Lu and her family have long bought a house in the city, and the house has been rented to a small business couple for living. Demolition is imminent, and the young couple has already moved elsewhere. Currently, on the 6th floor, there is only one household left, the Bien family. Taking out the key to open the door, Bien Mu walked to the small bedroom door and lightly tapped the door a few times. "Brother. Jia Lao Lu and his gang are urging us again. We need to quickly find a house." Before he could finish speaking, Bien Yu ran out of the house and reported unpleasant bad news. "They're not fooling around, are they? It's just cursing. When I left, I even kicked all the flower pots in the hallway to pieces, and I was so angry that I almost got into a fight with him," Bien Yu responded angrily. Bien Mu and his sister have been practicing martial arts since childhood and have never been timid in any situation. It's right to exercise some restraint. I dare not act recklessly, but I can't take it with me anyway. It's just a few flower pots. If they break, they will break. Hey. You should go to night self-study, right? Just about to leave. Our mother has gone to Nyosan's house again to make skewers. She doesn't even listen to me. After dinner, why don't you invite her back? After evening self-study, don't run back on your own. Wait for me to pick you up. We've been moving around recently, and the road is not smooth. Girls from all over, don't take any risks. Got it. After finishing speaking, she went back to the room and tidied up briefly. She was holding a clean plastic bag containing several teaching materials, and Bien Yu bounced downstairs for evening self-study. Looking at the cheerful back of the little girl through the window glass, Bien Mu's expression gradually became somewhat solemn. Bien Mu only earns around 2,000 yuan per month, and although his performance-based salary is not very high, he has never had much to do with him. His rating is too low, and he rarely receives various benefits in his department. As a frugal person, Bien Mu has accumulated over 30,000 yuan to pay rent and subsidize his sister's tuition fees. Once these 2 expenses are deducted, Bien Mu's hands immediately go to zero. It's not going to work like this. Life is so lifeless that I can't save any money. I can't say anything to let my parents live in a rental house for the rest of their lives, can I? Thinking of this, Bien Mu felt even more frustrated. There is leftover food in the kitchen, and it's quite good to soak your appetite while eating. After eating and drinking, you clean up the inside and outside of the kitchen neatly. My mother has always insisted on going to Nyosan's barbecue stall to help her family earn more money by skewering meat skewers. Nyosan's business has always been irregular, and God knows what kind of meat is used on the skewers. Bien Mu and her siblings have been quite critical of this. Jia Lao Lu is a bit unreasonable, so Bien Mu needs to quickly talk to him to avoid causing trouble to his family in the future. He can also go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, and his mother won't be able to attend to it at the moment. Where Jia Lao Lu's family lives, Bien Mu has no idea. At this moment, he doesn't even know who to look for. After sitting there and pondering, Bien Mu plans to go out and explore the small county town. He can't walk far and meet acquaintances. Just listen and take a look. The temperature difference between morning and evening was quite large. Bien Mu was wearing a little less, and the cold wind hit. Bien Mu couldn't help but zip up her jacket, shrink her neck, and walk towards the small square. Xiao Mu. I got off work early today. Can you find the house? A familiar uncle rode an electric tricycle and passed by. When he saw Bien Mu approaching, he stopped and said hello to him. Not yet. When will your house move? It's early. I haven't discussed it yet with the demolition office. Oh. I heard that Jia Laolu has already led someone to urge him to move, Bien Mu responded tentatively. Pooh. That coward is nothing. Let him come to my door and try it. Kick him out. Give me less than 1 square meter and I'll demolish their house. Calm down, our house is too old, and demolition is also a good thing. Uncle. Where does Jia Laolu live? What? What's up with him? It's nothing, just chat casually. Isn't your house a public property? Why bother looking for him? He's just a small leader in the demolition team and can't do anything. Hee hee. Just chat casually. Is his home far from here? East Sandaoxiang, the third house in the second row, has a super large satellite pot on the roof, that's it. Thank you. It's getting windy now, please hurry back to your room and keep warm. Squeak something. Let's talk later. Alright. See you again. After speaking, he braved the night breeze and strode towards the direction of Jia Laoyo's house. Chapter 4. Bullhorn Finger Set. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Dung Sandaoxiang is about a stop away from Bien's residential area, and it only takes about 10 minutes to walk there. The night breeze is cool, and Bien Mu naturally walks much faster than usual. It wasn't long before he arrived near Jia Laoyo's residential area. Looking around, most of the buildings in front of us are 2-story simple buildings. This was originally the dormitory area of a refractory material factory. As far as Bien Mu knows, Jia Laolu has been living here with his parents since his divorce. There is a piece of land in front of the building, which has long been surrounded by various households for various purposes. The satellite receiver. The largest 1, 2, 3. Should be this one, Bien Mu thought to herself. Yo. The small courtyard was quite lively, with laughter, punching, and the sound of utensils colliding. Mixed together, and upon closer inspection, it turned out that Jia Laolu had invited many friends to have a barbecue, and from a distance, he could smell the fragrance of high-quality charcoal. In addition to Jia Laolu, there were also 7 or 8 strong men sitting around the courtyard, all in their 20s. The dining table was not enough, and 2 folding small dining tables were also spliced together. 1 barbecue rack was not enough, and an additional one was placed at the street entrance. Charcoal blazing, with a strong meat aroma, not to mention, the group of people in front of me are quite skilled. Oops. Anyway, come here with 2 bottles of baijiu. It's too embarrassing to be empty-handed. Bien Mu hesitated and couldn't help stopping. Jia Laoyo's parents' house is already within reach, and the sharp-eyed man has long signaled that someone has come from outside Jia Laolu. Turning sideways, Jia Laolu glanced coldly at Bien Mu's standing direction with a slanted glance. Jia Laolu, in his early 30s, is tall and has a slight baldness. He has always kept a small flat head and fierce eyebrows, making him the kind of character on the street who cannot be easily provoked. Recognizing that the person was Bien Mu, Jia Laolu didn't say anything and turned his head to call on everyone to eat and drink, completely ignoring Bien Mu. One to many, in case of an argument later, I may not have a chance of winning. Besides, the wine bottles are all over the ground, and those guys just picked them up and rushed to drink a pot. Thinking of this, Bien Mu felt a bit regretful, feeling that she had come at a really bad time. Judging from the reactions of Dean Ma, Quan Yihan, and others today, even if one has exceptional skills and barely stays in the traditional Chinese medicine department, they won't make much money. Compared to Lisher County, Lijin City definitely has more, bigger, and better development platforms. At a young age, one should at least venture outside. Can I leave with peace of mind if I don't settle down my parents and younger sister? Jia Laolu and his companions harass him for no reason all day long, and if they don't calm him down, they may not be able to remain quiet in front of my parents' house. Thinking of this, Bien Mu bravely walked towards the Jia family courtyard door. Brother Lu. You're eating. Bien Mu politely greeted. Oh. Isn't this the great Dr. Bien? There's no inside or outside at the table, come on. Have a drink. Jia Laolu responded calmly. Jia Laolu has always lived in the same community as the Bien family. After divorce, in order to save money, he rented out his own house to earn some rent, while he moved back to his parents. What's wrong with the Bien family? Jia Laolu thinks his family is clean. Sixth brother, you're welcome. I've already eaten it. You guys should eat while it's hot. I'll just say a few words and leave. Bien Mu's attitude was quite sincere. They are all our own brothers, so be polite. Drink a few less drinks. Jia Laolu said politely, but he put on a posture of rejecting people from thousands of miles away. Bien Mu understands that it's all just a routine in the martial arts world. No. Brother, please help yourself. Brother Lu, isn't the deadline for my building only at the end of the month? It's only the 3rd today, isn't there still more than 20 days left? Could you please say hello to your brothers and let's rent the house as soon as possible? My mother is not in good health and has a tough temper. My sister should take the college entrance exam soon. Can you please be a little quieter at the doorstep? Bien Mu tried to speak politely, hoping that Jia Laolu can give face to the neighbors on the street. As soon as he finished speaking, Jia Laolu immediately pulled his face down and cast a gloomy glance at Bien Mu. Nonsense. I also have rules for demolition. Is your unit the easternmost household? There is no order for demolition. How many units are left in your unit now? You have no idea how many. Resettlement and compensation are not your family's business. What are you waiting for there? Ah. I have signed a contract with them, and 1 day of late construction is a day's loss. Can your family make up for it? I warn you. You are limited to 3 days to move, otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. As we progressed, Jia Laolu spoke more harshly and didn't show any mercy to Bien Mu. There was no transition at all. In front of everyone, Jia Laolu directly tore the face of the old neighbor to pieces. Although he had been mentally prepared beforehand, seeing Jia Laolu so domineering in Bien Mu at the age of blood and vitality, he was naturally so angry that he would turn his face on the spot. However, with parents at the top and younger sisters at the bottom, I still plan to seek development in Lijin. The future of the Bien family will have to live peacefully, and Jia Laolu knows the Bien family very well. Sigh. It's better to have one less thing than one more thing. Brother Lu. If you don't look up and don't look down, why speak so strongly? 3 days is not even enough time to find a house. Please invite a high-level expert to allow us a few more days. Suppressing his anger, Bien Mu continued with a few soft words. Who the hell are you? Sixth brother Rennie still said a few words to you, I've already thrown you on the street according to my brother's temper. Why don't you get out of here? At this moment, a young man in his 20s sitting next to Jia Laolu tricked Bien Mu a few words. Don't be shameless. Hurry back and tidy up and get lost immediately, and then nag and throw your whole family onto the road. Where are these fresh melon eggs coming from? Dare to talk nonsense to brother 6, you must be tired of living at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Okay. The group of people at the dinner table began to rise up and attack. It's not a good idea to leave. There's no way to continue reasoning, and Bienmu felt that her scalp was starting to explode. Just as Bienmu hesitated for a moment, a sturdy man stood up not far away and walked unsteadily to Bienmu, shining on his chest before grabbing him. Judging by the meaning, he intended to throw Bienmu onto the street to prevent him from ruining everyone's drinking. Underneath his heart, he sneered a few times. As he dodged, Bienmu quietly placed a cowhorn fingertip on his right index finger. Normally, this cowhorn fingertip was a powerful tool for treating illnesses and saving people. At this moment, the gadget suddenly became a hidden weapon for acupoint tapping to defeat enemies. The boy's left hand just touched the collar of Bienmu's shirt, pretending to be scared. Bienmu suddenly leaned over and bumped into the boy's arms, saying soft words. Big brother, big brother. It's easy to say something, it's easy to say something. I can't leave yet. Big brother, please don't catch me. Hey. I dare not say anything, big brother. In the dark, the lighting was not good, and the incandescent lamp in the small courtyard couldn't actually shine much light. The strong man couldn't see clearly how to clean up while bathing, and the others couldn't see clearly. Bienmu's plea for mercy immediately drew laughter from everyone. With a few sounds, everyone heard someone being thrown heavily onto the open space in front of the courtyard door. Ha ha ha. Let you cool down, kid. Hey. Liangzi. Are you okay? This kid dares to fight back, guys. Fuck him. The sharp-eyed suddenly realized that it was their companion lying straight outside the courtyard door. He quickly grabbed a half-empty bottle and smashed it at Bienmu. Bienmu was already prepared, and as soon as he flashed, he rushed towards Jia Laolu like lightning. Chapter 5. Blacklist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. According to relevant standards, there are a total of 361 standard acupoints around the human body, in addition to 48 extraordinary acupoints outside the meridians. Bienmu is not only proficient in the medical significance of these acupoints, but also has a profound understanding of their martial arts meanings. The pressure of the thumb and the penetrating force of the ox-horn finger sheath worn by the index finger complement each other, continuously affecting the opponent's Neiguan, Tsuza, and Qingling acupoints. The shoulder pressure reaches the child's Shentang acupoint directly, while cooperating with the inertia force of the waist throwing. The child who started the attack was grabbed by Bienmu Yan and thrown directly out of the shoulder. Speaking late, then fast. Before the wine bottle could reach him, Bienmu reached out with his right hand and fiercely poked Jia Laoyu's abdominal pain hole under his ribs. Jia Laolu drank a lot of wine without any defense, his head tilted, and he fell to the ground without moving. The other men had already had enough to drink, causing Bienmu to be so agitated that he sweated profusely. The cold wind blew again, and most of them began to fall into the trap of drinking. Opportunity is not lost, time never comes again. Take a deep breath, hold it in chain with your left hand, poke it with your index finger with your right hand, and press it with your thumb. Look at each person's key acupoint and poke it with your thumb. In an instant, all the male guests present are sitting crooked and leaning, and the entire courtyard is still standing there. Lying down, Jia Laolu and others became more and more clear-headed, with their eyes open. Looking up at the sky, I took a long breath and felt much more comfortable bathing in my chest. The differences in each person's acupoints are very obvious, and precise manipulation in an instant is Bienmu's strength. In this situation, if it were someone else, it would definitely be impossible to play with. At this moment, a burnt smell came, and Bienmu quickly poured some water to extinguish all the barbecue grills. He also turned off the alcohol lamps on the table one by one, fearing that the noise outside would disturb Jia Laoyu's parents again. Bienmu looked up and shouted a few times to the second floor, "Uncle. Auntie." 6 brothers and they all drank high, it's okay. I'm here to greet them. Just as Jia Laoyo's father casually agreed, he didn't even look out the window. It was estimated that the elderly couple were watching TV upstairs at the moment. Walking slowly to Jia Laolu, Bien Mu moved a small wooden chair and sat opposite him. Brother Lu. Signing a contract with someone else is your personal matter, and the demolition office's announcement of the demolition period is just. Justice is greater, and your personal matters are much smaller. This is justice, can you accept it? Bien Mu tried to reason with Jia Laolu. In small county towns, thugs like Jia Laolu who don't have a fixed profession only recognize 2 things. Either subdue him with force, or knock him unconscious with heavy money. Otherwise, they don't recognize any of these cowards. Bien Mu suddenly attacked and restrained him, thinking of arguing with him again about the truth. He didn't want to be convinced, but if he could take a step back and earn some peace for his family, it would be a worthwhile trip. Bah! Let's worry about your job at the hospital. Look at your foolishness, why don't you know? Your hospital has made a list of last place elimination, which has your kid's name on it. You're pretending to be 13 with me here, and if you lose your job, I'll make you eat dirt immediately. Quickly help me up, and when I wake up, I want you to look good. Everyone lay on the ground, and Jia Laolu still spoke with a strong and unpleasant tone. He is like a mischievous rascal. Upon hearing these words, Bien Mu couldn't help but be secretly taken aback. Damn it! Even if I usually score at the bottom, at least there will still be a few doctors who have really seen the disease in the hospital. Those hospital leaders won't be confused about this, will they? Bien Mu appeared somewhat skeptical. If you want to say that Brother Lu has a wide network of people. Our hospital's trivial matters cannot escape your attention, but then again, even if I am a jobless wanderer, you can easily step on the door of the Bien family. Before he could finish speaking, Bien Mu suddenly pointed his right index finger at Jia Laolu's shoulder Zhen hole and poked his left leg, Fu Tu hole twice. This is a special combination of acupoints, which may not have much effect when applied to others. Jia Laolu already has several mild underlying diseases, and receiving these 2 thrusts is really enough for him to endure. Jia Laolu suddenly felt that his left body had become somewhat stiff, and the muscles on his right face had gradually become more and more unnatural. An illusion immediately came to Jia Laoyo's mind. He would soon become a zombie. In shock, Jia Laolu opened his mouth and wanted to warn Bien Mu a few words. Unexpectedly, his tongue suddenly tingled and became increasingly stiff. This scared Jia Laolu. Watching Jia Laoyo's eyes show a particularly fearful expression, Bien Muqiang restrained himself from laughing and calmly looked into Jia Laoyo's eyes, without saying a word. As the stiffness gradually increased, Jia Laolu was so scared that his head began to sweat, and his eyes were filled with trembling fear. Feeling that the timing was approaching, Bien Mu extended his left foot and kicked Jia Laoyo's right foot Yongquan acupoint, with a light and heavy kick. Hey! The stiffness that was on the brink of death gradually began to ease, and Jia Laolu felt a few strands of vitality slowly rising from the soles of his feet. Brother Lu. It's freezing in the sky, so it doesn't seem appropriate for all the big brothers to accompany you here for exercise. Bien Mu had a hint of stirring up discord between the words. Jia Laolu still has to live in front of everyone in the future, so he immediately succumbs and really can't pull that face off. Without any warning, he suddenly stood up and Bien Muji extended his right index finger to directly poke Jia Laoyo's left eye. Dr. Bien. Dr. Bien. Everyone in the street has misunderstandings. When will your family move? I'll call a few more brothers over to help you. Jia Laolu finally agreed. Originally, it was just a bluff. Upon hearing that Jia Laoyo's tone had softened, Bien Mu naturally stopped scaring him. Got it. It's getting late, I won't disturb you when I go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. I'll invite 6th brother to drink another day. With that, Bien Mu circled around the other people lying on the ground, either nodding or kicking. Bien Mu untied all the sealed acupoints one by one, without looking back. It has been some time since Bien Mu's agile figure disappeared into the vast night, and the guys lying on the ground finally got up one by one. They hurriedly helped Jia Laolu onto a chair and sat down. Jia Laolu felt ashamed and didn't say anything. He lowered his head and raised his hand to dismiss all the brothers. After sitting alone in the yard for a while, Jia Laolu finally regained some energy. Where did this kid learn this kind of evil martial arts? TMD is like making a movie, isn't it? He seems to be wearing something on his fingers. Damn it. The bastard must have drugged us. Yes. Overpowering. MD. This time I admit defeat. Let's wait and see. Next time I won't kill you. Jia Laolu muttered angrily for a while, getting up and starting to clean up the remaining mats in the yard. The next day, Bien Mu continued to work as usual, but the number of patients was still very rare. Fortunately, he had a good mentality. While inquiring about renting a house, he pondered contacting several old classmates in Lijian to see if they had any good career advice. The success of Bien Mu's treatment of Mr. Luo was as if it had never happened before, with a calm and quiet cloud and breeze. Kuang Yiheng remains as seasoned and composed as ever, always carrying the demeanor of a renowned doctor wherever he goes. Occasionally encountering Bien Mu on the road, Vice Dean Chen only smiled with a subtle and friendly smile, and she didn't mention anything about Mr. Luo turning danger into safety. Dean Ma went even further. When he met Bien Mu, he treated him like air and ignored him. Bien Mu began to trust Jia Laoyo's warning a bit. Chapter 6. Amputation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's just a day of speculation, and it's also a day of honesty. I can't figure out the specific details of the blacklist of laid-off workers, so it's better to go out of the clinic with peace of mind. Subconsciously, Bien Mu believed that there was nothing to be picky about in terms of business skills, and that the bad news of being laid off or leaving should not fall on him. Just after 11 o'clock, a male patient finally arrived. He looks in his early 40s, not very old but with wrinkles on his face. His hair is dry and a third white, and his eyes are filled with worry. He looks like a hard-working worker with a hard life. The patient entered in a wheelchair, which is still a free and public one in our hospital. I really don't know how they got to the hospital. The patient's right foot was placed horizontally on the wheelchair support, in a semi-wrapped state, with half of the front foot in plaster and only a piece of medical gauze lightly applied to the heel. It seems that they have just undergone a follow-up examination in a certain department. The woman pushing the wheelchair was a woman in her 30s, with a bitter expression on her face and simple clothing, and it was not immediately apparent that she had any relationship with the patient. A girl in her 20s followed closely behind, holding a large non-woven bag filled with various inspection report documents, and holding a copy of the nuclear magnetic resonance test results in her arms. It seemed that she had only recently received them. The girl gently placed the MRI test report in her hand at the corner of the table and handed the registration form and outpatient manual to Bien Mu. Trauma. As she asked, Mu casually opened the outpatient manual at the top and scanned it a few times. Several of the outpatient manuals have turned yellow and deformed in color. Obviously, the patient has visited many hospitals multiple times, including Lijian Central Hospital, where surgery and orthopedics are highly renowned. The heel is inflamed and decaying, and cannot be cured for a long time. Several professors from top-tier hospitals have been diagnosed. They say amputation is necessary. My father doesn't give up. Also, the surgical cost is quite expensive, and we need to pay for everything. The girl should have received higher education, and the logic of her lawsuit is quite clear. You should get a surgical account. Take a step back, you should also get an orthopedic account. How did you think of getting my account? Mu asked with a smile while browsing through all the records in the outpatient manual. They all said the same thing, and the final conclusion was that amputation should be considered. My mother was so scared that she cried. A female cleaner at your hospital couldn't bear it and privately suggested that we try our luck by using your account. She even reminded us to be low-key and not disturb your colleagues. The girl spoke very eloquently, explaining the reasons and consequences clearly. With a slight smile, Bienmu gestured to the girl to put all her medical records, diagnostic reports, test reports on the table, and he needed to carefully examine them. The volume of medical records is quite large, I need to check it for a while. You can sit there and rest for a while. There are disposable paper cups over there, and you can bring hot water to drink by yourself, okay? I'm sorry to trouble you. The girl politely placed her parents aside and then used a disposable paper cup to bring her mother half a cup of hot water. She and her father didn't take a sip and sat quietly, waiting to take a bath and speak. More than half an hour later, Bienmu finally reviewed all the medical records. The three departments of traditional Chinese medicine usually focus on internal medicine diagnosis, and there are very few patients on hand. There are no specialized examination instruments for surgery and emergency departments here. I need to go out and borrow a set of examination equipment, you guys sit down for a while. After saying that, Bienmu went to the clinic to borrow something from a familiar nurse. He's too young, isn't he? It's cold and quiet here, not even a nurse. Is that okay? The patient's wife doubted Bienmu's medical skills and said a few words to her daughter. Let me talk about surgery. You're so scared. My dad doesn't accept his fate and is in a hurry to seek medical treatment. Anyway, we've searched for all the famous doctors we need to find. Let's try to show him. Seeing him calm and composed, he shouldn't be a troublemaker. The girl still had some illusions about Bienmu. Ah. It's all my fault for being careless and dragging you two down, said the male patient with a long sigh. A family of three were discussing while taking a bath, and with a soft creaking sound, they pushed the door open and came back, holding two dark green medical disinfection bags in their hands. The girl quickly got up and pushed the wheelchair to the bedside disposal, asking softly, "Do you want to help my dad onto the bed?" "No need. The patient can sit down, but there may be some pain from touching the deep part of the wound later. Please try to endure it." As she spoke, she skillfully opened one of the smaller disinfection bags, put on examination gloves, left-hand examination forceps, right-hand medical scissors, and squatted to begin the surgical wound examination. All inspection operations look very standardized, meticulous, and crisp. The girl was accustomed to this for a long time. Seeing the young male doctor in front of her with such skillful and agile techniques, she couldn't help but glance at her mother, her eyes full of surprise and approval. The patient's wife saw her daughter's expression of both surprise and joy, and her spirit was immediately lifted. Her eyes towards Bienmu were filled with soft hope. Bienmu examined very carefully, although he tried to control the operation procedure as gently as possible. Due to the deep decay of the patient's foot wound, he still repeatedly touched multiple nerves. The male patient gritted his teeth in pain, and soon sweat was visible on his head. Fortunately, the patient had strong willpower, gritted their teeth and remained silent. All right. The infection has been going on for a long time, and experts suggest amputation based on medical evidence. You also need to understand them when you go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. As she spoke, Bienmu took off her examination gloves, stepped on the switch, and threw it into the medical trash can. Upon hearing these words, a look of despair appeared on the faces of all three members of the patient's family. I haven't finished speaking yet. Don't be nervous either. Fortunately, you didn't sign the surgical agreement at the last moment. Don't worry. There's still treatment to be done, but you must promise not to speak out afterwards. Bienmu warned seriously. Upon hearing this, the patient's family of 3 were pleasantly surprised and didn't have any preparation. The whole family was stunned and couldn't say a word for a while. Why? Can't you trust me? Bien Mu walked up to the table and sat down, laughing. No, no. Can you really cure my dad's foot? You really don't need to amputate. That girl was still somewhat skeptical. The doctor is not joking. I will prescribe some medicine first. You can go to the pharmacy to pick it up. Your father's foot injury cannot be delayed any longer. I will prepare some medicine for him. First, seal and ligate the necrotic part of the wound. As she spoke, Bien Mu typed the keyboard and wrote a prescription for traditional Chinese medicine. The girl was stunned for a while before suddenly kneeling straight to the ground towards Bien Mu. Thank you, Dr. Bien. You are truly the savior of our family. Your great kindness will be remembered by our whole family for the rest of our lives. The girl's excited voice couldn't help but bring a hint of tears. Putting the printed prescription on the table, Bien Mu quickly stood up and helped the girl up, persuading her a few words. It's just a matter of duty. Calm down and go get some medicine quickly. Okay. I'm so excited. Thank you. With that, the girl grabbed the prescription and ran all the way out to the pharmacy to get it. Chapter 7. Fighting Poison with Poison. You are listening at novelfull.audio. During his college years, a Western medical proverb left a deep impression on Bien Mu's mind. Occasionally it can be cured, often it is helpful, always it is comforting. The interpretation of this medical proverb varies greatly due to differences in historical background, personal knowledge, medical practice, and so on. In Bien Mu's view, in the face of difficult and complicated patients, especially those in critical condition, as a doctor, whether they can be completely cured or not is the second priority. Firstly, we should find ways to relieve the huge mental pressure on their hearts. In a sense, as long as this is achieved, the patient's condition can be reduced by half. Just now, the girl suddenly knelt down to express her gratitude, which is enough to prove how much mental pressure the patient's family of 3 has endured. Bien Mu's efforts have obviously been effective. The inflammation of the patient's foot wound is difficult to dissipate, and the wound cannot grow. The pus and blood slowly overflow. The girl still needs some time to buy medicine. With the help of 2 hemostatic forceps and disinfectant gauze, Bien Mu made a thick medication pad. With the help of the patient's wife, she supported the patient's right foot pad on the wheelchair support and placed it properly. Come on. I need to check my pulse, Bien Mu gestured to the patient's wife to push the wheelchair to the table. First with the left hand and then the right hand, lightly tap the inch gap ruler. Slowly, and heavily, the edge of the Mu heart has a deeper foundation. Floating like a void, the yang energy is difficult to gather, and the left pulse is weak while the right pulse is calm and steady. It seems that the patient's daily diet should contain special ingredients, which is really fortunate. Invisibly, he also saved his own life. Thinking of this, Bien Mu took a medical notebook from the side, while sensing the pulse and recording the patient's unique pulse one by one. Compared to her peers, Bien Mu's pulse has always taken longer, and through her pulse, Bien Mu can perceive many little known special information. For example, the patient in front of us had a long period of practicing martial arts before the age of 20, and there should be no interruption in the process. As far as the basic skill of pulse sensing is concerned, no matter how smart Kuang Yiheng and others are, they may not be able to reach this level in their lifetime. Auntie. Usually, you have 3 meals a day. Can your family eat some unusual ingredients, such as wild vegetables, mountain mushrooms, wild yellow rice, and so on? Bien Mu asked with a smile. Does this mountain radish count? Are you talking about green stem commercial land? As she spoke, Bien Mu picked up her phone and retrieved a few pictures from the database to show to the patient's wife. Yes. It's this thing. Red roots are poisonous and cannot be eaten. We usually use mountain radish stew soup and radish seedlings as vegetables. What's wrong? Isn't this thing something we can't eat often? The patient's wife asked in confusion. On the contrary, it's fortunate that you usually treat it as a home-cooked dish. Otherwise, Uncle might have to amputate. Bien Mu responded with a smile. Upon hearing these words, the patient and his wife couldn't help but look happy, their eyes filled with infinite longing for a new life. The eager anticipation immediately moved Bien Mu, and a long-lost sense of achievement arose. Bien Mu felt deeply proud. At this moment, the girl returned from buying medicine. The traditional Chinese medicine prescription only listed 3 types of Chinese medicine, namely dragon's blood, elephant blossom, and purple grass, with a total processing fee of 31.75 yuan. Yi Xianghua is quite fresh, not bad, not bad. Let's first give Uncle some medicine. As time has been dragging on for a long time, in order to take effect quickly, I need to open the wound a bit later and discharge some fresh blood outward so that the dried blood powder can blend with it well. It may be very painful, and your current physical condition is not suitable for anesthesia. You have to endure it. After that, Bien Mu opened another disinfection bag and put on a pair of sterile surgical gloves to prepare for medication. Bien Mu's technique was very skilled, and the wound was treated in no time. Patient Mr. Ge's expression remained normal and he did not feel much pain. I don't have many patients here usually, why don't you two sit there and rest for a while? The medicine will show for a while. After greeting the mother and daughter to take their seats, Bien Mu began to dispense medicine. According to the doctor's advice, the pharmacy has ground the leaf elephant flower into a slurry and placed it in a plastic small medicine bottle. The purple grass has also been ground into powder and packaged into a small medicine package, which is placed next to it. Bien Mu called the girl and explained a few words while dispensing medicine. This medicine is called leaf elephant flower. It is toxic and should not be taken orally. When used topically, one should also follow the doctor's advice. Purple grass powder can dissolve most of the toxicity of leaf elephant flower. Depending on your father's condition, the ratio of the two should be controlled at 1.3. Purple grass powder is 1, and leaf elephant flower is 3. It does not need to be too precise, but it should look similar. I will prepare the medicine for you later. If it is not convenient to come to the hospital to change the medicine in the future, you can follow this method to prepare and change the medicine for your father. Let's come to the hospital to change our dressing. My father's condition is critical, and I dare not take action. If it messes up, I won't be able to afford it. The girl quickly responded. Okay. Anyway, I don't have many patients here usually. I work all day from Monday to Friday, and you can come and change the medicine anytime during working hours. Bien Mu had already prepared the antidote. It will take some time for the blood-dried powder to dry, and since we haven't seen any other patients registered for consultation in the clinic, Bien Mu accompanied Mr. Ge and his family to discuss the specific precautions for future treatment. Mr. Ge practiced traditional martial arts when he was young, didn't he? Bien Mu asked with a smile. It's just a village style, where can we talk about spreading martial arts? Patient Mr. Ge humbly responded. The reason for asking this question naturally has my reason, uncle. Try your luck and punch me in the palm of your hand a few times later, let's try our skills. With these words, Bien Mu stood up and walked closer to the wheelchair, with his right palm facing outward and standing under his right rib. Is this really a fight? Mr. Ge asked in confusion. You're really hitting. Don't worry, your serious injury hasn't healed yet, your vitality has been damaged, and you're still sitting in a wheelchair. I'm so young, no matter how good your martial arts are, you won't hurt me, Bien Mu responded with a smile. Well. I'll give it a try. As he spoke, he saw Mr. Ge's eyes slightly cold, his gaze focused, and he calmed down, ready to try a few punches. In an instant, Mr. Ge's usual melancholic demeanor in front of others disappeared without a trace. His calm and composed demeanor surprised the mother and daughter accompanying him. Zhaoshuyuan.com Bien Mu, who has been practicing for several years, is a young and serious person. He is skilled in both attack and defense, and can make guesses as soon as an expert sees it. Mr. Gu is obviously also an expert. As soon as he saw the posture put on by Bien Mu standing there, he knew that the young and handsome male doctor in front of him was not an ordinary person. Since he had said to rest assured to punch, there must be deep meaning in it. So, taking a deep breath and using his luck, Mr. Gu punched Bien Mu's right palm. With a bang sound, Bien Mu swayed slightly on his side twice and had already dissipated all the strength from his fist without a trace. In this battle, Mr. Gu confirmed that Dr. Bien was also a practitioner. Mr. Gu, your foot injury has been deeply affected by external factors and has not been cured for a long time. Although there is no need to amputate it, it is not easy to cure it. It is even more difficult to fully recover. Thanks to your martial arts skills, you can unleash the energy in your body. In the future, treatment will be twice as effective with half the effort. Bien Mu explained with a smile. Is that right? It's Dr. Bien who is very clever. I've wasted my life. Your great kindness will never be forgotten by our whole family in this lifetime. Mr. Gu seemed a little excited as he spoke. You're too serious. After applying Yi Xianghua to the wound, we'll take the path of using poison to fight poison. You may experience accompanying high fever. When resting at home, all you need to do is feel uncomfortable, either sit or stand, concentrate and gather qi, just like before. Lift the qi of the elixir field, slowly spread the energy around you with fists until the fever subsides. Of course, at that time, it's best for your family to be by your side. If it happens, call 120 to our hospital for further consultation as soon as possible. Don't worry, the probability of this happening is extremely low. Upon hearing this, Mr. Gu and his family of 3 were completely at ease. Chapter 8. Taboos for Peers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Experts and professors from top-tier hospitals are not just ordinary people. Their judgment of Mr. Ge's basic condition and the formulation of treatment plans are basically established. On the surface, amputation surgery may seem cruel, but that treatment method can achieve a permanent therapeutic effect. At the very least, Mr. Gu, the patient, minimized the medical risks of bacterial spread and recurrent wound infections. Bien Mu's pulse diagnosis technology is outstanding, timely capturing Mr. Ge's extraordinary immune system. In addition, Bien Mu is proficient in the properties of traditional Chinese medicine and is confident in achieving precise targeted medication, which is why he boldly adopts the traditional conservative treatment plan. Traditional Chinese medicine has always emphasized the principle of 3 parts treatment and 7 parts nourishment in the treatment of diseases. It is obvious that Mr. Gu and his family are currently in a very difficult economic situation. At this time, it is not realistic to ask them to pay attention to improving the patient's nutrition. For Bien Mu, this is not simply a matter of poor treatment results. Even if the patient follows Bien Mu's advice and uses the power of internal medicine to eliminate internal and external pathogens and toxins as much as possible from the body, long-term nutrition cannot keep up, and their resistance is insufficient. Once a sudden external disease such as a severe cold occurs, the old disease may still recur, and at that time, the patient still has life concerns. If we really go that far in the future, Bien Mu's reputation will also stink on the street. If not, they may even have their medical qualifications revoked and withdraw from the medical industry. Can you think of a way to help him enhance his nutrition? Some words can't be said too bluntly. The family in front of him looks very humble on the surface, even a bit humble. However, from their resolute eyes, it is not difficult to see that their temperament is very stubborn. If any words are not appropriate, they will definitely deeply hurt their already battered self-esteem. Thinking of this, Bienmu felt a bit worried. At this moment, a young female doctor dressed in a snow-white coat quickly walked into the consultation room with a few squeaks. "You're really dedicated. It's already a few o'clock. The cafeteria has served sweet and sour flour silver carp today. They all snatched it up, and I was thinking of asking you to help me queue up." "Oh. You're so injured. What's the situation? Isn't this surgery? Why did you come here?" As she greeted, Dr. Lu Lifei, a famous figure in the first department of traditional Chinese medicine, carefully looked at the patient's family of 3, her beautiful eyes full of doubts and confusion. Bienmu's department rarely has people registering for consultations, making it a serious illness. Lu Lifei couldn't help but wonder for a while. Lu Lifei, 6 or 7 years older than Bienmu, holds a bachelor's degree and is the disciple of Kuang Yiheng, the director of the University of Traditional Chinese Medicine. She is outgoing and occasionally sits in Bienmu's consultation room to chat. The deep infection through the trauma has been dragging on for a long time, and the best treatment opportunity has been missed. Colleagues from other departments are quite in a difficult situation. "Come here to try my luck. Your mention of sweet and sour silver carp reminds me of something." "Thank you, thank you." As she spoke, Bienmu stood up and politely handed Dr. Lu Lifei over to the seat. Turning around, Bienmu gave a warning to the patient's wife and daughter. "There is a Black Dragon Pond about 10 miles west of Pijia village in the southern suburbs. Do you know that place?" "I know. There are several natural fountains there, all of which are live water. I often see people fishing there," Mr. Ji's wife quickly responded. "What you're talking about is Black Dragon Lake. Black Dragon Lake still needs to walk a few more miles towards the southwest. The water temperature in that area is low, and the yin energy is dense. Even skilled anglers cannot easily catch half of the fish. Let me tell you, Uncle Go is a bit lacking in nutrition and needs to be well replenished. His body is mainly young, and he needs to supplement some yin fish meat accordingly to improve his immunity. There is a fat-headed fish called Watching the Sky White growing on the other side of Black Dragon Lake. The fish belly is as white as snow, and there is a black line running through the fish body in the center, just a thorn, which is very easy to clean up. However, this fish is extremely difficult to clean up. Fishing, I'll give you a recipe. You can follow the recipe and add some bait, maybe it's okay to catch some fish." After that, Bienmu returned to the table, picked up a pen, brushed dots, and prescribed a special prescription for Uncle Ji's daughter. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bien. No matter how difficult it is, we should try to go back and try it out." After that, the daughter of the Go family carefully put away the special prescription. At this point, the toxicity of Yi Xianghua had also dissipated almost. Bienmu called on the patient's wife to push Mr. Go to the bedside for disposal. Bienmu put on surgical gloves and skillfully applied the wound medicine, then put on specialized surgical suture needles and thread for a very professional barrier sealing. Lu Lifei also graduated from a regular college. Looking at Bienmu's extremely skilled sealing technique, she felt very uncomfortable in her heart. There has always been a legend in the hospital that Bienmu is the doctor with the highest level of traditional Chinese medicine. However, Lu Lifei has always been skeptical about this. Seeing her today, Lu Lifei couldn't help but feel a mix of flavors in her heart. Where did he learn this? The technique is so sophisticated, how come this kind of ligation technique looks so unfamiliar? After all, I have never seen Teacher Kuang use it before, even those colleagues in the surgery department have never seen anyone use this technique to ligate wounds, and why is only 1/3 of the wound sealed, and the other 2/3 left unchecked? What kind of therapy is this called? It's really strange. Lu Lifei muttered to herself for a while, not knowing anything at all. Zhaozuiyuan.com. Everything is done, and Bienmu's head is sweating a bit. All right. Come to me every day to change the dressing, and I need to observe the healing of the wound. Uncle GE's illness has crossed many departments, so to avoid any misunderstandings, please keep your mouth shut and avoid discussing specific treatment matters with others. Bien Mu solemnly advised for a while. No, no. How can we listen to what you say? We haven't been able to repay your kindness yet, how can we cause you any more trouble? You stay busy, let's go back and inquire about the specific situation of Black Dragon Pool. After thanking the daughter of the Gu family for her kindness, she greeted her mother and joyfully pushed a wheelchair out of the house. Feeling that the patient's family of 3 should have gone far away, Lu Lifei couldn't help but ask, how dare you take on such a heavy patient? Are you not afraid of offending other colleagues? Judging from that style, this family has also run to the top 3 hospitals in the city. If any unfavorable news spreads outside in the future, it may be enough for you to drink a pot. If someone comes to seek medical treatment, they can trust me. I can't think too much, let's go. Go grab the fish. Cut it. Are you still thinking of grabbing fish? Have you heard about it? Dean Ma has already drafted a list of laid-off workers, don't you worry. It's a blessing, not a disaster, it's a disaster that can't be avoided. With my usual low rating, what should I worry about? What can I do if I don't worry? Master Li's fish is so amazing, it's better to grab a few fish and make a tooth offering. As she spoke, Bien Mu went up to the top of the cabinet to pick up her own utensils, and then prepared to eat in the cafeteria. Humph. You can think of it. We all need to learn from you well in the future. Let's go. Grab the fish. With these words, Lu Lifei took the lead and walked quickly towards the cafeteria. Chapter 9. Human Debt. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 2 years ago, the hospital cafeteria was outsourced to a small boss surnamed Ma. Bien Mu had seen several faces of that man, who was in his 40s, short and chubby. He spoke very little, and everyone had a 3-part smile, giving people a very Buddhist feeling. There have been rumors in the hospital that Mr. Ma is a relative of Dean Ma's family. Bien Mu feels that people are taking it for granted that everyone surnamed Ma is a relative. What logic is it? Mr. Ma's cooking skills are highly sought after. When he is in a good mood, he also shows off his skills in cooking. The famous sweet and sour flour chain is Mr. Ma's proud work. As long as you hear about the sweet and sour flour chain menu hanging up in the cafeteria, not to mention that medical staff are rushing to buy it, even the families of hospitalized patients, nearby neighbors, and even diners on the street will come to support you in the first place. Bien Mu felt that Boss Ma must have some background, and the small cafeteria would definitely not be able to keep him. He would spend a few years in the small county town cat, and sooner or later Boss Ma would make a comeback. Ah. It's still late. She sighed with great regret and waved her hand as she rushed to the window to grab some fresh stir-fry. Lu Lifei is very popular wherever she goes, and her food cellar is quite familiar with her. In no time, her plates were piled up to the brim, and she sat down with some decent female colleagues nearby for a chat. Lu Lifei took out her phone and sent a few photos to her master Kuang Yiheng. Those are a few photos of Mr. Gu, the patient, who had his foot wound treated to the final stage. Bien Mu's mind was fully focused on wound sealing, and she didn't even notice that Lu Lifei walked up and secretly took a few key detail photos. Lu Lifei is quite skilled in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. Based on intuition, she believes that Bien Mu's technique of sealing wounds in the end is definitely superior to that of ordinary surgeons. Moreover, the sealing process at that time looked very unique, and it was the first time she had seen it at such a large age. My mentor Kuang Yiheng is a medical expert, and he should know the tricks behind it. Anyway, please send the photos first. Bien Mu always eats according to fate, as long as it is hot and balanced in nutrition. She waved her hand to Lu Lifei and walked slowly towards the westernmost window. Stir-fried pork slices with vermicelli, stir-fried broccoli, 7 or 8 cherry tomatoes, and 2 mantou. One lunch is enough. I casually found a seat nearby and sat down. Without taking a bite, pharmacist Xiao Lu approached with 2 large lunch boxes. I really took it from you. I finally had a patient on hand, and you still prescribed a small prescription. I don't even know when it's now, really. Xiao Lu scolded Bien Mu a few words as he came up. What's wrong? According to their statement, I've always been like this, haven't I? Bien Mu responded casually. Damn it. You're already the top scholar, and you're so arrogant. You're a big talent, different from us petty people. You have heard of something strange, haven't you? Bien Mu casually asked. The blacklist is down, don't you know? List of laid-off workers. I heard you're in first place. Glory, right. Did you see it yourself? Bien Mu was already prepared and asked calmly. Cut it. That's a first-class confidential document, where did I go to look? That's not over. Don't wait until the final announcement, when the list is actually a different version. Who can say for sure what happened in the past 2 years? Damn it. Maybe we'll let out smoke bombs again. They're sitting high on the fishing platform, causing us little shrimp to panic first. You have your brain. As if realizing something, Xiao Lu Shun held his chopsticks and struck the lunchbox in front of him heavily. The two of them were chatting, surrounded by colleagues from the hospital, male and female, from various departments, some of whom were not very familiar with Bien Mu. Maybe it's a psychological effect. Bien Mu felt that everyone was paying extra attention to him today, and there seemed to be a hint of doubt, sympathy, and happiness in his eyes. There was even a look of disdain from some others who showed a sense of schadenfreude. Xiao Lu glanced at Bien Mu a few times, and he also felt the same way. The world is unpredictable, must I be the first one to be laid off? Innocent. Bien Mu thought to herself. Thousands of years ago, traditional Chinese medicine and metaphysics were of the same lineage and origin, and many aspects were interconnected in core logic. Bien Mu was also proficient in modern mathematics and had a unique understanding of the dialectical relationship between the two. The ups and downs of the world, coupled with opportunities, can be described as constantly changing. If we view people and things with a fixed perspective, who may suffer losses. Boss Ma is on duty, and the food is naturally much sweeter than usual. He has a great appetite while bathing, and after a while, he eats it clean and tidy. Take your time eating, I'll leave first. Xiao Lu shouted, taking a bath in the bathroom to clean the lunchbox. He then put his hand in the nearby disinfection cabinet and passed it through before taking a step out of the restaurant and walking towards the outpatient building. Halfway through, I heard someone greeting me from behind. Dr. Bien. Please stay behind. Looking back, it turned out to be the young female assistant next to Mr. Luo. Hello. Is Mr. Luo recovering well? Bien Mu casually asked. Thanks to you, my language function has basically recovered, but I didn't listen to you in terms of rest and work as usual. I won't listen to any advice. Oh. Workaholic. Over time, I'm afraid it might be. As she spoke, Bien Mu seemed to realize something and immediately stopped talking. What? Are there any health risks in the future? The young female assistant asked with concern. I can't quite explain it in a few sentences, right? If Mr. Luo suddenly experiences any unexpected symptoms in the future and other colleagues have difficulty handling it, please contact me again. That's great. I'm just an assistant. Mr. Luo has such a strong personality, and I can't say more about some things. I was originally planning to treat you to dinner today, but I had to take care of something on the way and it was delayed. Since you've already eaten, let's reschedule. Bien Mu knew in her heart that the beautiful female assistant in front of her could not have made a special trip to the small county town for a meal. So, she smiled and asked, "Do you have anything else to do with me? People come and go here, and it's not very convenient to talk. How about we come to your office for a while?" "Okay. Please." After speaking, Bien Mu led the way towards the outpatient building. During lunch break, the hallway of zhaoshuyuan.com is empty and quiet. "Sorry. I don't even have tea here, only plain water. Would you like a cup?" "Don't be busy. Just a few things, I'll go back to the company after I've been told," the young female assistant responded with a smile. Listening attentively, said Bien Mu as she sat back in her seat. "Mr. Luo has never had the habit of owing favors to others. Thanks to you, he has successfully recovered this time. It can be seen that you are the technical expert of this hospital. Mr. Luo has instructed me to do something for you to some extent. Time is rushed, and I can't help you with anything big. I heard that your house is being demolished. I took the initiative to help you rent a house, just across the street. Here is the key, please keep it." "Oh no. This is not suitable, I can't accept it." "Hee. It's just an ordinary residential house. If you feel guilty, just give me the rent to save you the trouble of searching for a house everywhere." "No need to ask, the conditions for the house the female assistant is looking for are definitely not wrong. Of course, the rent is also expensive." "How much does the rent cost per year?" 500 yuan per month, no deposit required, and the property management fee is not much. Is it okay?" "Are you deliberately lowering the rent, right?" "That's not true. The homeowner of an acquaintance's house loves cleanliness and doesn't want to rent it to anyone in a mess. When he heard that you are a doctor, he agreed. So let me take a look at the house first." "Sure. The second thing is that your hospital's laid-off list has been drafted, and your name is among them. Mr. Luo will always find a way for you. Additionally, if you have any difficulties staying here in the future, Mr. Luo can recommend you to the city's major hospital at any time." Bien Mu understood that Mr. Luo was repaying his debt of gratitude, and from now on, everyone will be cleared. Chapter 10. My Own Things. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Which company's chairman is Mr. Luo? What is the size of your company? How high is the level? What is his relationship with county magistrate? Do personal friendship? It's still work-related. Bien Mu knows nothing about this information, and of course, Bien Mu is not very interested in this information either. The reason why he went upstairs to try his best to treat Mr. Luo largely depends on his curiosity about difficult and complicated diseases. He is still very young, and only by being exposed to more difficult and complicated diseases can his medical skills be quickly improved. Bien Mu also has his own selfish intentions, taking the opportunity to compete with Kuang Yiheng, to test his medical skills and suppress Kuang Yiheng's old age dependence. He hopes that in the future, his life in the department can be relatively easier. Besides, Bien Mu had no other selfish thoughts, and after the incident, he forgot about it. Surprisingly, Mr. Luo is quite a gentleman and easily does not receive favors from others. He specially assigned his female assistant to rush to the small county town to do a few things for him as a gesture of gratitude. In addition to feeling grateful, Bien Mu felt that it was better to speak in the open. "What is your surname?" Bien Mu asked with a smile. "Excuse me, my surname is Zhang." "Assistant Zhang. Mr. Luo is so thoughtful, and I am very grateful. However, I think it would be better to explain some things in person, and we will see each other more naturally in the future. Dr. Bien, please speak." Assistant Zhang responded with a smile. In fact, given Mr. Luo's identity, Director Kuang may have had some doubts at the time, so he was somewhat hesitant in medication and acupoint selection. To put it inappropriately, why don't doctors usually treat their parents? There are too many concerns. I am hesitant, it's not easy to diagnose, I am different, young. There are no taboos, and this is how we manage to cure Mr. Luo's aphasia. This is our responsibility, and Mr. Luo doesn't need to be so polite. The list of laid-off workers doesn't bother Mr. Luo, I can handle it myself. Bien Mu politely declined Mr. Luo. The kindness of the family name. Dr. Bien is too modest. In fact, although our company's headquarters is located in Lijin, we also have an office in Lisher. The company is currently negotiating a quite large project with you and will soon establish a branch office. Therefore, we also have some knowledge of Dr. Bien's recent situation, such as why Jia Laolu and Huzhua are not working. Assistant Zhang spoke with great discretion, and he didn't delve deeper into some matters until he pointed them out. How clever Bien Mu is. Upon hearing these words, I naturally understood everything in my heart. That day, I was also lucky and relied on my youthful vigor. They drank too much. This caught them off guard. If we had another conflict next time, I might not have much advantage. You may not know, but in recent years, my mother's health has been on the decline, and our family's financial situation is not very good. She can't accept anything that the rent is too high. Your company has a heart, and it has indeed helped me relieve my serious illness. I feel guilty about this. However, I want to solve the issue of being laid off on my own, so I don't have to bother Mr. Luo. Oh. Being laid off is not a small matter. Even if Dr. Bien has excellent medical skills and high skills, once the list of laid-off workers is released, your resume will have an additional bad record, which will be greatly detrimental to your future medical practice. Have you seen the so-called laid-off list with your own eyes? Bien Mu asked. That's not true, but I can confirm that your name is indeed at the top of the list of laid-off workers, Assistant Zhang responded with a serious expression. Official list. Can it be considered a draft? That list is indeed in Dean Ma's hands, and we have witnessed our relationship here with our own eyes. I see. Isn't it necessary to pass the meeting? Vice Dean Chen and others, as well as Director Kwang, have to participate in the evaluation. After multiple rounds of voting, I may not be among the laid-off workers. Oh. You sound quite confident. I can see from the second floor that day that Vice Dean Chen still values you a lot, but she only holds one vote, right? Peers should avoid each other. Will Director Kwang definitely stand by your side then? The world is unpredictable, let's talk about it later. In short, regarding the matter of renting a house, I will accept Mr. Luo's favor. As for the internal affairs of our hospital, I kindly ask Mr. Luo not to interfere, as it will not benefit anyone in the future. Okay. Dr. Bien insists on doing so we can only do whatever we want. Here is my business card, please keep it, Dr. Bien. If you have any further matters, please contact us in a timely manner. We will do our best. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, thank you very much. Then I won't disturb your lunch break. You have put away the house keys, please add each other's contact information. I will send you the specific location of the house on your mobile phone. Our company has arranged for many people here. When will Dr. Bien notify us of the move? I will arrange for them to come and help. You're too polite. We don't have much at home, so there's no need to trouble your colleagues. Okay then. Stay in touch if you have anything to do. Goodbye. Thank you again. I'll see you off. With these words, Bien Mu escorted Assistant Zhang all the way to the parking lot to watch him get on the car and leave without any dust. He then turned back to the clinic, changed his clothes, and headed across the street to see the house. Coincidentally, Kwang Yiheng stood on the balcony of the 5th floor of a building and accidentally saw Bien Mu chatting and laughing with Assistant Zhang. His face sank like water, and Kwang Yiheng couldn't help but mutter to himself, Jia Laolu belongs to the kind of rotten people known as rolling knife meat. He goes to Shuyuan www.jiaoshuyuan.com to steam or cook until it's cooked. He has always been accustomed to persistent fighting. If he really gets into a fight with him, he may bring many unexpected troubles to his parents and younger sister in the future. There are many dreams at night, and Bien Mu has made up her mind to move as soon as possible. After dinner, Bien Mu accompanied his parents and asked Bien Yu to visit the rented house in the Guangjiyuan community. Xiao Shu. To be honest, how much did this house cost? Bien Mu asked with a calm face, seeing that the rental area, orientation, and facilities far exceeded her expectations. I told you. The house of my college classmates and relatives, whose family moved to a big coastal city, is also a small immigrant. The house was originally intended to be sold by an intermediary company. My classmate, his mother was worried about the seaside humidity and would not be used to living there in the future, so it would be uneconomical to buy a house when he came back. This is not for sale. His family usually live a very careful life, and would certainly not want to rent it to outsiders who do not know the truth. We saved some money on the surface of living here, but in fact, it is to look after the house for others, and it is not reassuring to give it to others, male and female classmates. Man, his name is Qian Xiaotong. When he was in school, we lived in the same dormitory for 4 years. He was afraid of heights, so I voluntarily gave him the lower bunk. There was a basketball court fight, and if I hadn't stepped in to help him in time, he would have suffered a big loss. Which telecommunications company does his phone belong to? Please send it to me. Mom. Why don't you even believe what you say to kiss your son? This bathroom is too spacious. Mom. Go take a look. With these words, Bien Yu quickly pulled her mother to inspect the bathroom, while also giving Bien Mu a wink. Bien Mu quickly took the opportunity to hide and sent a few short messages to his college classmate Qian Xiaotong to say hello in advance, saving his mother from having to settle accounts later.